We often think happiness is the natural state of life, something that should come easily, automatically, simply by existing. But when you look closely at the history of humanity, at the design of our own psychology, and at the world we've created for ourselves, you begin to notice something unsettling. Happiness has never been easy, and maybe it was never meant to be. In fact, humans struggle with happiness for reasons that are far more profound than we usually admit. We grow up with a narrative. Happiness is something to be found. You go to school, you achieve, you earn money, you find a partner, you buy things, you travel, and at the end of it all, you feel fulfilled. But most people eventually realize that this story is flawed. The things we're told will bring happiness don't deliver. At least not in the way we imagine. A promotion might make us excited for a week, maybe a month, but soon it becomes ordinary. A new relationship is intoxicating at first, then it stabilizes into routine. A new car shines until it fades into the background. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much we achieve, our happiness resets back to a baseline. And so, we chase again. It's not that we're ungrateful, it's that our brains are wired this way. Evolution didn't design us to be permanently satisfied. It designed us to survive. Think about it. For most of human history, life was about not starving, not being hunted, not freezing in the winter. The brain that evolved in that environment was built to constantly scan for threats, to never let us grow too comfortable. If happiness meant sitting back and relaxing, our ancestors wouldn't have survived long enough to pass on their genes. The anxious, restless, dissatisfied ones, they kept moving, hunting, searching. And they're the ones we come from. So in some sense, unhappiness is not a flaw in the human system. It is the system. But here's the paradox. We no longer live in caves or fear predators in the night. For many of us, survival is no longer the daily struggle it once was. And yet, our brains haven't caught up. We sit in traffic with the same stress response that once was meant for escaping lions. We check emails with the same urgency that once kept us alive. We compare ourselves to strangers on the internet with the same instincts that once measured our place in a tribe. Modern life exposes the mismatch between what our brains evolved for and what we actually live with. The result? A constant sense of unease. We're safe but restless, comfortable but empty, surrounded by abundance yet feeling deprived. Another reason humans struggle with happiness is that we are not built to stop. Contentment is unnatural to us. The moment we have something, we look to the next. This is why billionaires can still feel unsatisfied. Why artists can reach the peak of success and still fall into despair. Why ordinary people can live safe, stable lives and yet lie awake at night with the quiet feeling that something is missing. We are haunted by the idea that more is always better. But more never arrives. And maybe this is the deeper truth about happiness. It was never meant to be the end goal. Perhaps happiness is not something you get, but a side effect of something else. When you talk to people who describe themselves as truly happy, they rarely talk about possessions or accomplishments. They talk about meaning, a sense of connection, a life that feels coherent. The writer Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of concentration camps, argued that humans don't actually seek happiness at all. What we seek is meaning. And when life feels meaningful, happiness tends to appear naturally. But meaning is not given. It must be created. Here lies another modern paradox. In the past, people didn't have much choice. Your role in society was fixed. You were born into a family, into a religion, into a community, and that defined much of your life. That rigidity was limiting, but it also gave a kind of clarity. Today, we are freer than ever. Free to choose careers, beliefs, lifestyles, identities. But with freedom comes the unbearable weight of responsibility. If you are unhappy, it feels like your fault. If you fail, there's no one to blame but yourself. This abundance of choice can paralyze us. We think happiness is out there, waiting in the right decision. But often, the more we search, the more dissatisfied we become. So why do humans struggle with happiness? Because happiness was never promised. Because our brains evolved for survival, not contentment. Because we live in a world that offers endless choices but no clear direction. And maybe the most unsettling truth of all, happiness cannot be held onto. It appears in fleeting moments, in laughter, in presence, in love. But the moment we try to trap it, it slips away. But this is not entirely hopeless. The fact that happiness is elusive doesn't mean life is meaningless. If anything, it makes the rare moments of joy more precious. Perhaps the better question is not how can I be happy, but how can I live fully? Because when we live fully, when we create, when we connect, when we face suffering with courage, happiness tends to appear as a quiet companion rather than a destination. In the end, happiness may not be about conquering the brain's flaws or escaping the struggle. It may be about learning to walk with it, to see life not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a mystery to be experienced. And maybe that is enough.